My family lived outside the USA for most of my childhood. And by the time I reached sixth grade, we lived in the capital of the Netherlands, a city called The Hague, for a period of 7 years. We lived in a brick house. My father was an engineer, and my mother took care of the home, my two sisters, and me. One day when I was in high school, I came home and my father, who was on the couch with a glass of scotch with ice at his side, and he was crying, rubbing his hands over his face. He said to me, "Your mother wants a divorce from me, and we must return to the USA. I will move to Pittsburgh, you will go to college." We returned to the USA, and my father drove me to Bowdoin College in the state of Maine with a trunk and a green suitcase filled with all my belongings. While in college, I did not speak or see my mother for a period of 3 years. I spent those summers working in the college town. In my fourth and last year of college, my mother got my phone number from my sister and called me, asking to visit, to introduce me to her new husband named Steve, who she'd met at an AA meeting. I agreed to meet her in the parking lot of the Dunkin' Donuts. It was on Main Street, a neutral place so she would not know where I lived. I got into the back seat of the car and Steve was driving. We went to a nearby restaurant for lunch. I explained to my mother that upon graduation from college that May, that I would be moving to the country of Belgium. She asked me to provide her an address and a phone number where she could reach me. I agreed to do that. A few years later, I recall visiting my mother at a job on Park Avenue, where she was the cook and her husband, Steve, was the butler. She had told me in making the plans to meet that I had to enter the building through the service entrance. I entered the lobby first to ask the doorman where the service entrance was, and he directed me back outside and around the corner. I was quite surprised when the service elevator opened directly into the kitchen where my mother was waiting for me. While smiling and boasting, I create gourmet meals for Mrs. Vesuvius by walking down Madison Avenue and order takeout meals from the very best restaurants. I bring it home. She prefers chicken. Take it out of our box and use a knife to muss up the edges so it looks homemade. I put the chicken on her favorite china dinner plate. She continued, "No one ever looks at the credit card receipts around here, and I always rip up the boxes so she'll never know." Now that I am a mother of 3 children, all living in New York City, and 3 grandchildren, I still use the roasting pan she stole from that kitchen and handed me in a heavy cloth bag when I left the service entrance that afternoon. I have never told my children or grandchildren the story of the stolen roasting pan, but maybe I will next year.